So I went back to the range this past weekend because I'd itched to shoot my M16A4 clone, and so it made me wonder, if someone were for some reason on the fence about building or buying an M16A4 clone, what would push them over the edge to do it? So we're going to talk about that. What are some reasons why the M16A4 is still relevant today and why you should consider getting one? Now, to be honest, I'll be preaching to the choir for a lot of this video. Everyone knows, everyone loves the M16A4 clone. But just for some background anyway, so the M16 in general, we know, has been around for decades, for generations, and has served in so many different environments globally. Whether you're talking about jungles, if you're talking about the Middle East, or just anywhere else, the M16, and especially the M16A4, is such a well-known and well-respected rifle. And so unfortunately, by today's standard, it's considered to be a little dated. Not the base design, but its specific configuration with its 20-inch barrel, which is considered to be a little longer, although is the true intended, the original barrel length for 5.56 for its ammo. And just some of the more features that are included on it, like the handguard, maybe the fixed stock, and maybe just some furniture as well. There are lighter and smaller options out there like the M4 or like the HK416, and just in general other attachments or other types of rails which are considered to be, lighter and a little more ergonomic. However, this doesn't mean the M16A4 by any means is irrelevant or a bad gun. It is absolutely not the case. Whether you're talking again about different environments or different, urban environments too, this thing has done it all. Clearing rooms, long distance engagements as well. It's done all of that. So obviously it's a very effective weapon. And personally for me, it's one of my most comfortable guns, not just rifles, but one of my most comfortable guns to shoot. I think they really got it right when they were designing the stock, the length of the stock, the iron sights, and just everything about it. It's a very comfortable and easy gun to get used to. Now, because different customization options do exist for the M16 or the AR-15 style rifle today, these days people tend to get the M16A4 for the cloning aspect, for the nostalgia, for the respect for the rifle and all that stuff. But I would argue it's still a viable choice today, and so we're going to talk about that. Reason number one that you would choose the M16A4 is because it's a proven design, and because in order to be effective with your gun, it's really up to the skill of the shooter. So basically, if you want it and if you're good, go get it. A lot of people will talk about the M16A4, as I mentioned about, because of its longer length, or it doesn't have a free-floated rail system and stuff like that, thick stock. It's a little more dated. And yeah, I guess there are some different options out there today. But at the end of the day, I don't think that should stop you at all. If you like the rifle and if you're willing to put in the time and effort to learn how to get good with that configuration, then it's all up to you and the sky's your limit. I think those kinds of things, while I get why overall we've moved towards more compact guns, it's the skill of the person to be able to use the gun, however you need to use it, to be good with it. So don't let those things stop you at all. Just because a rifle or any pistol or anything doesn't have the newest, the hottest furniture or anything, that doesn't mean that it's bad in any way. And that doesn't always mean that just because something is newer, it is better. Now, I understand why people would choose M-Lock over like the Knight's Armament Free Float, why instead of the ACOG, they would choose maybe a newer, more versatile, different type of optic. But again, that doesn't mean that those choices back then are going to be bad or cripple you in any way. It's all about practice, and that's what matters. Another reason too that you should get it, if you agree with me, is that it's an awesome gun. It just looks great, it feels great, and it shoots wonderfully, if you ask me. And so this actually, to be honest, can be said about any rifle. The idea is that if you like it for whatever reason, it looks good, it feels great in your hands, I'm a strong believer that means you will go and practice with it more. Simply because you like it, you gravitate towards it, you'll be more encouraged to go out and practice and have fun and get some trigger time and just get better using it. So for me, the reason I'm drawn to the M16 is obviously the service record, how it looks. I think it's just a sexy gun. And I love the weight of it too, and the kind of the chunkiness. I know overall, we've gravitated towards M-Locks, or instead of, like Aimpoint Comp M4Ss, we've gone to more Aimpoint T2s, or just kind of scaled down in general. But I like the weight and the heft of this rifle too. It makes the recoil nice and light and controllable, and it just feels like a very solid gun to be able to use. And that's probably why I find it to be so comfortable to use. I understand, why people like lighter for very obvious reasons, but I feel like there's a spectrum with, weight and then comfort. But it is also, if it's too heavy, obviously you don't like it, but if it's too light, I feel like I want more gun in my hands. And so that's actually a big reason I do like the M16 as well, because of just its overall profile. I find it's very enjoyable to shoot. And to be honest, I've actually noticed the same thing for, a little off topic. But I've noticed the same thing for pistols too. I definitely like those compacts and subcompacts, and I understand why they're so popular, but I tend to gravitate towards more full-size pistols instead, even for daily carry. So I'm seeing probably there's a trend there. Do what you will with that info, but I guess the key takeaway here is that just because the M16A4 may be considered heavier than usual these days, I actually find that it can be a benefit. That as well as the rifle ink gas system. Also, the M16 in particular is a pretty popular cloner's rifle, if that's your thing too. So cloning, of course, you build as close as you can of a military version of your gun. And the M16 is very popular for doing that. And so if you're into the whole cloning thing, that's definitely, obviously a route. Everyone knows that. But cloning too also helps you understand how the rifle works, and it gives you a sense of pride and ownership when you finally put it together and you see the final functional rifle put together. You take it to the range and shoot it for the first time and many times over. And it's a really big sense of accomplishment, and it's really rewarding to be able to do that. So that can apply not just only to the M16A4, but that's kind of how I actually use it. For me, when I went back to the range this past weekend, unfortunately I only had 100 yards to practice with, but I took out the ACOG on the M16 and it was just such a fun time. For me, I'm still kind of getting used to shooting the ACOG or magnified optics in general. And because I liked the gun, it was just a good time to get it out, good excuse to practice my holds, my trigger pull, my sight alignment, and all those kinds of things. And so because I enjoy the rifle, I don't find it to be like a tedious process. It's satisfying to go out and practice with it. I have a lot of fun and I learn skills along the way. And the last reason I would say that you would choose the A4 today is because of the appreciation it has, and for some of you who have used it, nostalgia it also brings to have this in your collection. A little more of an emotional appeal. Not everyone would care if it's not as practical, but it's something that's kind of big to me. For someone who has appreciation for the gun and respect for those who had it, I think it's really important that way. It's something that helps me feel really grateful for the kind of equipment and the kind of guns that I can own today, and the fact that I can, practice with these at any time, and just to know and see the evolution from, that kind of design of that period or that configuration of the M16 to that period, to see how we're progressing and where we're going today. That's kind of another cool thing that I like about it as well. Do you need to own the M16 to do that? No, you don't. But it's a nice added bonus for some of those who care about that. The appreciation and the respect for the rifle and for the people who had it too. So that's really all I have to say for this one. Honestly, I think more of an excuse just to show the M16 and shoot with it. I have my M4A1 clone, which I've shown many times, which I love, and it has an MPVO on it, which I find to be, a little more to my liking in terms of magnified optics. But more frequently than I expected, I get the itch to bring out specifically the M16A4 or the ACOG. It's just such a fun and great gun to shoot. And so I'm preaching the choir here, but we've brought it out, and I'm glad to shoot the M16 again. So if you are looking to get the M16, consider these things. If for whatever reason you were on the edge and you needed some kind of reasoning or some outside voice to push you over the edge to spend the money, consider these. It's a fine shooting rifle, and don't let the stuff about it being a little more dated, don't let that stop you. At the end of the day, if you like it and you practice with it, just like any other gun, you'll be good with it, and so it is a practical one to use today. Just because there are newer features, newer configurations, that doesn't mean the old stuff is bad, and it doesn't mean the new stuff is necessarily better. It's up to you to practice. Now, in terms of how to actually get this rifle, you have some options. You can build one or you can buy one. I've done a video on that. But if you're looking to buy one, Colt makes a complete rifle for like $1,100, at least at the time that I've made this video. And then I think Aero Precision sells it in separate uppers and lowers for right around the same price. I think it's like a tiny bit more, if I remember correctly. And then you can do the FN Military Collector's Edition as well. That costs substantially more, but that's also an option for you too. If you want to build it, basically the world is your oyster, but you can use BCM parts. It's a lot of what I did as well to kind of put it together. You can use whatever you want. So the point is, you have many options to be able to get it. If you want one, you should definitely go for it. I love the gun. It's pretty accessible. So that'll do it for this video, guys. If you have any questions on the M16 clone that I've made or anything you want me to touch on, let me know. Drop it in the comments and happy to talk about it. Until next time, see you later.